Hello, everyone. Welcome to another cartoon commentary. I am the man with an hour, the man with the power of the stream, Superstar Mercy Graham, and I'm joined by my plastic brother, the excellence of eloquation, Hitman Hans Graham. How are you, good brother?
How you going, man? Glad to be here. Who's Hans Graham?
It's you, brother. It's you. You're another one of the long lost Golden Graham brothers, joining Dr. Jerry and Eddie and Superstar Billy and Crazy Luke and all the other ones, Eric the Man and Beautiful Bob. We're doing Bravestarr today. How excited are you to be doing Bravestarr the Legend?
Bravestarr was one of those cartoons I grew up with every Sunday morning after church. Used to hurry home and get a chance to watch it. I loved Bravestarr as a child. Never had any of the toys, but he's one of those guys like He-Man and such who really kind of hits on that good sense of justice as well as, all those good virtues and morals, which was a commonality in those days with those PSAs. Love it.
Yeah. And for anyone who's seen my channel, they know I don't mind Bravestarr. So, we're watching the original Bravestarr movie. It's called Bravestarr the movie, often called The Legend, Bravestarr the Legend. And so pop in your DVD if you've got it. It's around the internet too. Just seek and ye shall find, as the good book says. We're all queued up. The ones we're watching, runtime is about an hour and 27 minutes. We're queued up at 0, and here's your countdown. And when I say play, you're all going to be pressing play. Ready? 3, 2, 1, play. The Filmation intro.
Oh, yeah.
So here's my history with Bravestarr. I love the show, watched it whenever it was on, and never saw this movie. It was never released in theaters in my parts. I never saw it on TV in my parts. It just started like He-Man or any other show. It just started with an episode. And so I never knew about this thing's existence. It's not like I knew it was out there and I missed it. I just didn't know it existed until like some years back, 10 or so, that I found out this thing existed. And so we get so many of these revivals that come out and they try to recapture the old show and continue it or prequelize it. Masters of the Universe Revelations is a famous one. They said it was going to continue the old one. And they said, well, no, kind of, sort of. This to me is like, if they had gone back in time to tell you the origin of Bravestarr, but instead of it being a modern Far Cry, it got lost in the couch. And I got to just see this incredible origin after I'd already watched the whole show.
That's 100% what happened to me.
Yeah.
Except you said 10 years. Mine was like 2.
2 years after?
About 2 years ago. I only discovered this exists. So I'm sitting down there, and it was in the middle of the lockdown, and I was searching through looking for Bravestarr episodes, and Bravestarr the movie. I was like, oh, it's probably just a bunch of episodes together.
Yeah.
No, it was a movie, and oh man, it was a fantastic discovery for me. Also, the fact that they didn't. Do you know the history? Did this come before Bravestarr?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Actually, it did?
Yeah. Yeah. It might have been released in theaters as well. Limited release, kind of like the She-Ra movie. But this definitely came before the show.
So that explains why the animation and the drawing is so top notch. It's like they had a little more love and a little more budget. But I remember watching it for the first time, and I felt like this was just made, but it couldn't be, right?
Yeah, this is especially nice to watch this with you being an artist, and you can appreciate the artistry of this. Filmation really upped their game. You see these light effects here, and the smoke effects, to know the manpower, the man hours that went into doing this, the meticulousness of doing like the teeny tiny little details here. This is a very old movie, but I think it still is just as good as anything being produced today, just because of the time and effort that went into it. It's all over the screen.
Exactly. The one thing that we've lost a lot of was we let computers do a lot of this stuff. And the sad thing is that computers can only kind of guess.
Yeah.
People know. And because of that, when he snaps the amulet, when he waves his hand, you see that kind of casual motion that we're supposed to have when we move. But whoever drew this, they were all studied and they knew, you know?
Yeah.
It's not an approximation. It is. And I like that.
If you had something else to do, feel free to drop off. I'm just going to have AI pick up and imitate you for the rest of this commentary. I've seen some of that AI art, and it is. Does it make you feel a little uneasy because it looks like it's supposed to look, but a little there's something off about it. It's kind of like when you see CGI, someone de-aged or something like that, and you see the dead eyes.
Yes.
That's what it
The
is. Something is off.
I believe the word is uncanny valley. I
Uncanny.
think that's what they use. It's very uncanny valley. It's almost perfect, and because it's almost perfect, it looks even scarier or worse. It feels. It's like when an animal enters a forest and the forest is suddenly quiet. The animal's very alert because everything looks okay, but there's something
Mhm.
that's off. And it's the same thing with AI art. Um, and if you look closely and you know what you're looking at, especially if you check out the hands and some of the musculature or the eyes, especially just a little inch off, and suddenly it doesn't look human anymore. But it's
Hmm.
my main problem with AI art is more they've gained something for nothing.
Yeah.
I've worked very hard to reach where I've reached, and there are millions of artists better than me who've worked even harder than I have, and they've not reached that level, but they're able to generate the pieces quicker. I mean, at the same time, and parallel to this, I am happy that people can experience what I experience, even if only it is a fraction of it. So I'm glad that they get the opportunity to create. And I hope that in that case, they do see the value of the skill more and pick up a pencil or a paintbrush and give it a shot without the computer because
Yeah.
it's way more satisfying. You know, so
Definitely.
it might be good an introduction to art as a hobby or even a job if they so desire. So that way, I am kind of parallelly happy about it.
Yeah. This was the first mind blowing moment of the movie when I first watched the movie. So that's how Star Peak was created. It's a ship. It's
It's a ship.
Shaman's ship. Yeah. And Shaman's had a rough day at the office. He's instantly aged.
the
It's much slower pace, this movie. Like they're treating it like an actual theatrical movie, or at least an 80s movie before everything got so a great shot there of the prairie people
it,
looking up at Star
yep.
Peak. But it's they're a lot more patient than a typical 22-minute toy commercial episode.
It's very respectful with the concepts of storytelling, and we lose that
Yeah.
a lot. People are more concerned with the amount of ammunition. Wow, the amount of information and the speed of its delivery.
Freudian slip.
I know, right? So they're more concerned with the amount of information rather than the intensity of the information. And I prefer that intensity because it sticks. You know, things that hit hard stick. If
Look
you
at
just
the
get a lot of it, you're just
beauty.
cramming.
Look at the beauty on the screen. The transition from Stampede's eye to the sun to the glowing of the Carium. This is especially for a Western fan. I grew up watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Fistful of dollars for a few dollars more.
The
Sergio
shootist.
Leone is, one of my favorite directors, and this is so inspired by Leone. A
Absolutely.
cartoon that looks like a Leone movie. Like who would have ever dared to do that?
Boy, uh, even the storytelling in and unto itself. I mean, granted, Tex is very much like a spaghetti western villain, but they've got
Angel Eyes.
yeah, exactly right. But it lends itself to that traditional storytelling, which a lot of people think that it's dated, but I disagree. Like to me, this is like a
Oh.
legendary time.
I guess actually Tex Hex is a blending, a merging of Angel Eyes and Tuco because he's got the kind of cool aura of Angel Eyes, but the big mouth and the ugly face of Tuco.
I'm trying to. There's one guy, as we're talking about westerns, I forget his name. He didn't make many face expressions. The only one he did was like kind of a slight smile. I think he was in The Shootist as well. I can't forget his name.
That's a great
Oh,
movie. I just watched The Shootist for the first time last year. What a great movie.
they. A lot of people don't realize that some of the old western films are classic, proper cinema. They think they're all this
Yeah.
kind of cheesy stuff because they got lost in the
Um,
sea of
They're about
nonsense.
people. They're not just
Yeah.
about cowboy boots in the desert. They're about people. I had heard The Shootist was boring because of the lack of sets and stuff like that. And I
Ah,
watched the movie and I saw that they didn't go around very much. But when you've got John Wayne at that age where he really knows his craft, you don't need
exactly. Yeah.
you don't need to go anywhere. Like just let the man sit and do his job.
You know what gets me a lot about this is a lot of the action is shown through the movement, and there's not much with regards to shading. But they've done such a good job with the lighting because I think in these days they actually used to go frame by frame on the
Yeah.
actual cell and paint the film with the glow. And whoever did that had just as much of a conviction to this craft that they
Mhm.
made and enhanced everything with just the little painting of the cells. I mean, look at that bright light explosion. That wasn't originally animated. That was a guy on a cell drawing the 3, 4 frames.
Yeah. The artists that were involved with anything toy related, a lot of them have gone unappreciated or haven't gotten the flowers that they deserved. Hector Garrido, one of the
Hector
really
Garrido.
unsung great artists. All of the artists that worked on the show, their cells end up just getting scattered all around the world, sold for a couple bucks on eBay, and people don't really consider, it on the same level as paintings that hang in museums. But I got the chance some years back to get the entire transformation sequence of 3030, transforming from horse to robot. I have the whole thing. And I don't know if there was only one in existence. Maybe there's two. I wouldn't be surprised if there's only one that they used for the intro and then for every episode. Because why would you repaint? It is a lot of frames. And some months back, I was able to finally display it properly, put them all on one wall, and all in sequence. Him transforming from horse to robot. It's a wall filled with frames of him just subtly changing. Um, so I, at least, you know, that big piece of their art is being featured properly somewhere.
Did you have to, I don't want to say varnish it, but like
No, no,
air seal it or anything? Or
no. I wanted to maintain the integrity of the cells. I didn't want to be poking holes through them or gluing them. So I put each one into clear plastic um, slips,
right.
which with I think they have holes in them so they can breathe a little bit. They're designed to hold that type of thing so that they don't yellow or erode. So each one of them is in an individual thing, and then I've pinned them up by the case that they're in, not the cell, but the little slip, the plastic slip that they're in, all pinned up on a wall.
Right.
And the wall is movable, so I can move the. It's like on a big board, basically, so I can
Uh,
move it around. And
I'm curious,
yeah,
but it must be about 180 to so of them.
I'll show you. I'll show it to you. It's
Oh, I'd love to see.
it's pretty spectacular. I've shown one other Bravestarr fan, and it blew his mind. Like not just to see them all, but laid out in sequence. And as I pan the camera down, you can actually see him transform
Ah,
as
I
you
can
go
see it.
down
Yeah,
the
yeah,
wall.
yeah.
Yeah, because it's one of those like little flip comic books
Yeah.
type of thing. You can see him changing. Stampede is incredible. Everything that they're doing here with Stampede, just visually, if you don't have much time and you want to establish your big bad as being someone to be reckoned with, that's how you do it.
What's also interesting about Stampede is he actually was the bad guy, but we see Tex Hex
Yeah.
more. But he
Stamp
gets scared of Stampede.
Stampede. Now this this is one of the things, like they bring back so many toys these days, and it's just a matter of time before they brought back GI Joe. When GI Joe was napping, everyone thought it was dead. I said, no, it's just napping. Transformers was dead for a bit there in the 90s, and they brought it back. What else is coming back? Mask is probably going to be coming back. This, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it back, minus the spirituality. I think the same thing happened to Star Wars. They've really toned down the spirituality of Star Wars. You know, the Obi-Wan and original trilogy, Obi-Wan and Yoda aspect of the Force is more powerful than all of this. Whereas these days it's more about the fashion and the technology and stuff like that. Sure, they can bring Bravestarr back, but Bravestarr is so steeped in the spiritual aspect, shaman, and the flip side of shaman is stampede. You basically got God and the devil
Yeah.
going at each other in here with their emissaries, Bravestarr and Tex Hex, Jesus and the Antichrist. It's basically, you know, an allegory for it. If they were to bring it back, I think they would really, as they have with everything these days, just reduce the importance of the spirituality and make it more about his boots and his gun. And if
His
he did
attitude.
have, his attitude, and if he did have the power, it would just be more like a quick, here comes a bear to wreck stuff. The thing I always loved about this cartoon is when he calls upon the spirit animals, even in a 22-minute quick cartoon, there's always that moment. Sometimes they shorten it down for the situation, but there's times where there's like a shootout or something, and it's like he's saying a prayer. It's like, you know, eyes of the hawk, and the music plays, and they zoom in, and they just give you a look at his eyes, and they show the animal, spirit animal, fly in, or the bear, and
Yeah.
they give it a much more time than they would today. Because today I could just see the producers going, "Hurry up!" You know, time is money. And these guys, Lou Scheimer and his team, just gave it time.
Interestingly, in addition to the point you just made there with regards to spirituality, whether we like it or not, Bravestarr is a marshal. He works for the government. He actually represents, quote unquote, the man.
He's a law.
He's the law. So the reality is that in addition to steering him away from that spiritual aspect of Bravestarr, I suspect they'll also make him more like Zorro, where he is an outlaw. So they wouldn't, we don't want to trust the government. We don't want to trust the people above us. It's more fashionable to be a rebel. So in order to sell him, they'll turn him into a rebel. And they did it with G.I. Joe as well. G.I. Joe Renegades, they became outlaws. And I don't think that's necessarily true, because it really does kind of turn you against the idea that there's actually good people in the government as well. I prefer the idea of someone working for the government who is a good man, trying to change the system from within, trying to show you that good can exist in all places. Like Bravestarr, very much like Bravestarr.
And he has his dilemmas too, even though he's the law. Like there's episodes where even though he has the authority of the law and the government, he runs into his mentor, who you would think, well, you know, my mentor has he can tell me what to do. I have to listen to him, and he has moral dilemmas, like the one where he has to tell his mentor, you're not what you used to be. You know, I gotta lock you up. And it's also cool. What I'm really surprised that they haven't brought Bravestarr back, because these days they really like to talk about how they're fixing all of the mistakes of the past, and they're all about more inclusion, and you know, you could just show them Bravestarr and drop that mic. Bravestarr is a mic drop, like when they talk about strong female characters. Just look at GI Joe. They were already doing it in the 80s with GI Joe, Scarlet, and Lady J, but with Bravestarr, that's a mic drop. Like this is an Indian who's a cowboy and a marshal, right? He's a native, but he's also the cat. Like he's a melding of everything. Now they might call it cultural appropriation these days. Like he shouldn't be wearing that cowboy hat. But before such an insane, silly concept as cultural appropriation came up, you were allowed to appreciate other cultures and even integrate.
Yeah. What is culture anyway? And if you want people to learn and appreciate it, you have to immerse themselves to a certain degree. To deny them that opportunity of immersion is to alienate them. And alienation, almost exclusively historically, always becomes fair.
Yeah.
So don't let them be scared. Let them involve themselves. Let them quote unquote appropriate. Because if not, the culture dies with you. And a dead culture
Yeah.
is no use to anybody.
Yeah.
And on the case of strong female characters, Judge McBride is
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
up there too. And
She's the
more often than
judge.
not, forgotten. She's forgotten.
She's the law too.
She is the law. And I think that's why Bravestarr works so good, because he might have been doing all the arresting, but conviction and stuff was up to her. So it was a two-handed system with two very,
Yeah.
good characters that interacted well together.
Yeah, that was always very important for Lou Scheimer to have strong female characters. Um, I feel like he always got the right balance of it, because sometimes you can go too far and it becomes an imbalance the other way. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people are blind to the imbalance when it goes the other way. They just think, no, that's what I wanted. Like, no, that balance is better than imbalance on either side.
It's
This is
true.
a great line. I love this line right here. I need an army of marshals, because the tagline on the poster is they needed an army or 1,000, something like that. They got one,
They got one.
and he was enough. This is our first look at Bravestarr. 19, 20 minutes into the movie, we
It's
get
true.
this first look at Bravestarr.
And he's not doing anything
he's,
particularly heroic.
he's napping.
He's having a nap, having a sleep.
I was so glad to see that this wasn't a growing experience for him, like starting off as a hot-headed punk and then
Right.
developing into Bravestarr at the end. Like he's pretty much the Bravestarr at the here in this first time we see him, that we see him in every single episode of the show. There's not much growth from him. He's easygoing.
He was already a fully developed character. What he did was discover the spiritual side of his ability.
That's it. Yeah.
That's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. McBride reminds me of Queen Elena. Marilena. From He-Man. Marlena? Randall's wife. She really reminds me of her, now that I'm looking at her here. He is respectful through this whole thing. He doesn't. Yeah. He's respectful. He doesn't. Even at Tex X, he doesn't get mad. He's just level.
Yeah. The voice actor Bravestarr is Pat Fraley, also known as Ace on G.I. Joe. Max Ray on Centurions. So I remember seeing an interview with him one time, and he was asked how he came up with the voice for Bravestarr, because that's a tough one. Like, do you do like a stereotypical Native American, Tonto type of thing? No. Do you go full on cowboy John Wayne? Well, that doesn't really honor his native roots.
Right.
What do you do? So Pat Fraley said, well, I decided that he's a cowboy, but he likes quiche. So yeah, he's a cowboy, but he's classy. He's got some class.
He's a gentleman.
He's a gentleman. That's it.
He doesn't have to get mad if he doesn't have to.
Yeah. And he shouldn't have to, because 30-30, his big part is his surrogate. He can vicariously be enraged through 30-30 24 hours a day.
That's his tempo. What's it called? They play off
yin and yang.
Yeah, the yin and yang each other, which is fantastic.
Yeah, Bravestarr.
Bam.
Bravestarr is the white in the yin and yang symbol, and 30-30 is the pulsating, glowing, exploding, flaming other part of it. So he doesn't have the strength of the bear here yet. I'd forgotten that he didn't have that yet at the beginning of the movie.
What's interesting, as we're talking about 30-30, the fight scene between these guys is very memorable. But we're gonna reach there soon, so
Now, I
talk about it
think
when
there
it
was an
arrives.
episode, a flashback episode that talked about how they met. I, I'm not sure, but I think there may have been. And so I had seen that, not
Right.
realizing that they had just taken it from a movie.
Yeah. And it was really well done because you can tell 3030 is a dirty fighter
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
watch the scene.
It also adds a little, like, he's such a root and toot and rambunctious character. 3030 is fun, Sarah Jane and all that, but his origin explained in this movie, and it's not that complicated. He's just a horse wandering around looking for a fight.
Yep.
But what we're given in this movie, it kind of gives him a tragic background. He's the last of the Equestroids. His whole race has been wiped out now, probably because of their own stupidity. But still, the fact that he's the last of his kind of makes him, a bit of a tragic character too.
he he kind of is a surrogate for what are they called again? The Krogan from Mass Effect. They were wiping themselves out because of their own violent nature.
Yeah,
But I suppose like there'll be some kind of salvation for his at least the last of their race because I don't get the feeling that 3030 was originally any kind of lawman anything,
no,
you know?
no. You think he'll end up a monk?
Yeah, just sitting on top of a hill meditating next to shaman.
I don't think I'm angry anymore, Bravestarr. I just want to relax with Sarah Jane. he's, he's sitting there petting Sarah Jane on a hill.
Susan, what's the voice actress's name for McBride? I think it's Susan Blue.
Susan Blue, I believe, yeah.
Susan Blue,
Voice
yeah.
of RC on Transformers.
She was RC on Transformers, but she was also in Transformers. Wow, Fairborn. She was the
Marissa Fairborn.
Marissa Fairborn, right?
Flint's daughter, yeah.
She's had quite a history of being a spacefaring law individual / freedom fighter,
Yeah.
But she does something interesting with her voice. It's kind of raspy at the end, the kind of Bravestarr, and she does this thing. It's very, very endearing. And sounds like she belongs in this era, which I like.
Yeah. That's also Pat Fraley as Thunderstick, the robot.
He looks real pretty in them there dresses.
And that's just all like practical effects instead of post production. That's just him pretending to be a robot. the Undertaker measuring the kid. Whoa. Yeah, he didn't make it to the show.
Never get away with that these days.
They dropped him in the show. He's a movie exclusive character. Oh, this show, it did quite a lot that you never see these days. The episode, The Price, about the drug addiction, the kid that died of drugs. One of the most important animated kids show episodes ever made. And anyone who watch it, who says, "Oh, that's too intense," no, it's important. I remember that lesson for the rest of my life. It's kind of like that Gorilla Monsoon saying, "How do you get out of it? Don't get in it. How do you get over drug addiction? Don't start."
That's the only Bravestarr episode that I vividly remember. That one episode because of the last 2 minutes when they found the boy.
Yeah.
That stuck with me as a child forever.
The hero doesn't save the day. That really, it was really meant to show kids, and when they grow up adults, it doesn't matter how good you are, how brave you are. Sometimes they're just things you can't overcome, and drugs, you cannot save someone from their own drug addiction.
Yep.
You do everything you can to try to help them, get them to rehab. But in that particular episode, it was just without some effort from the person who's in the clutches of drug addiction. It's like a drowning victim. Sometimes they just go down no matter how much you hold on and you try to swim them to shore. You can't keep them afloat.
And if you try to save them, sometimes they grab you and they pull you down too.
Mm-hmm. I love how he just waltzes into town and takes care of
He's
these villains for a bit. He is overmatched here.
he's a businessman, not a businessman. He's a lawman. He's come in and he's put these things out. This is the way it is. I am the law, like Judge Dredd, but with a little more tact.
So easily too.
Yeah, they couldn't even now. They couldn't do anything against him.
Scuzz with his disgusting smoking. They wanted to really establish that smoking is bad for you. So these days, oh, we can't have character smoking. That's going to inspire kids to smoke. No, Scuzz, I don't think inspired many.
Anybody? Nope.
I think he discouraged it because it was done right. You know, that's how you make someone not want to smoke. Even
If
Tex gives him a hard time about it. Put out that disgusting cigar.
they think by not showing somebody something, you're going to educate them on it. No, show them. Let them see and let them see how bad it is. And at that point, they know, okay, don't do it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's what Scuzz really did. And most of the villains tended to have those bad habits, which I enjoyed. They painted the bad as the bad.
Mm-hmm. 3030 to me seems like a bad guy on the good side. He's kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, just that's a bad dude. He just happens to be beating up on other bad dudes.
Well, what's interesting about that is that he's trying to get better. That's what differentiates him from most of the bad guys. The bad guys aren't trying to get better actively.
Yeah.
3030 is like, oh, fine, we'll talk, or we'll do
Yeah.
it your way for now.
He's slightly reasonable. There's another Leone sequence right here. Goes for the toothpick. That's awesome.
You know what gets me? Whoever animated the facial expressions probably had a really good time, especially with Tex Hex. Tex Hex has a very expressive face.
Yeah.
The jaw and the eyes. The big, big red eyes.
Cracking the knuckles. Whew, they really build it here. The cutting. And it's already out. You don't even see him draw. It's just out. This is what Bravestarr didn't count on. This guy is just a dag nasty jerk. I cheat.
I lie, I cheat, I steal. In that order, actually.
I wonder if Eddie Guerrero watched this cartoon and went, I like him. He got Latino heat.
I would love to know what some of those wrestlers grew up watching. I think that would be very interesting. Because some of their characters are very much based, especially the heels, are based on Skeletor and all those classic villains.
Yeah. I want to mention the music in this too. This is one of the few soundtracks from those old cartoons that still hasn't serviced. Incredible music throughout the whole show, not just the theme. And it's never come out. Like the G.I. Joe score has come out, the Transformers score has come out. He-Man score came out a couple of years ago. But this, I don't know. It's going to take just one person who has access to it to make the effort to share it with the world. So whoever has that access, please do so, because this has been in the vault too long.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, a lot of these old soundtracks had a lot of heart and soul put into them. Ironically, another one that has to do with intergalactic cowboys would be Galaxy Rangers. That soundtrack also remains in the hole. How? Why? It was great stuff.
I haven't seen that one yet.
You've not seen Galaxy Rangers?
Someday. I'm sure I'd love it. You know, sci-fi western, Firefly, Bravestarr type of thing.
It's one of those shows which starts off very frivolous and then 2 episodes in becomes very serious. Like I remember seeing the 2nd and 3rd episode and be like, oh no, oh no.
You're talking Attack on Autobot City and Transformers the movie type of.
It's very much the kidnapping of a family and a not good ending, and I was not ready for that. But it shapes one of the characters very much how Thundercats did it for the duration of the whole thing. And I think it's also one of the few series where there's a conclusion. There is an end.
Mm.
And
Oh,
it's a
that's definitely something to watch it for then, because how many of these shows had a proper finale?
yeah,
None.
and not many at all. Like pretty much none. I've been waiting for the Pirates of Darkwater to find the 13 Treasures of Rule now for 40 something years, and it's not happening.
Mm.
These guys I didn't get.
The
I mean, I
dingo.
like the Dingo. They just seemed they had no redeeming qualities. They just
They're dreadnoughts. They're just
that is a
they're
perfect
they're the
analogy. They're
jobbers to do the job when you don't want the main stars to do the job. They do the job on the Saturday morning to keep you busy until the main event.
and they have the cartoonish Wile Coyote
Yeah,
faces to go
yeah,
along
which
with
is
it.
so
It's just,
perfect. It's so perfect for them to get thumped because yeah, we were used to it. Throw them off a cliff and
just
run into a
whatever.
wall.
You know they'll live.
Look at the animals all melding into each other through the smoke. Beautiful.
Once again, look at the lighting here, right? Someone drew the shadows and the movement of the
The
shadows.
sweat on the forehead. This is
There's no other
incredible.
shading. There's no other shading anywhere else. But here they decided to put the light in the shadow because it's a dramatic moment. That's design. Yeah.
Shaman, also last of his kind. Now that's kind of weird. Our power plant. What?
We had a MacGuffin that they needed.
Just, I
It
never
wasn't.
expected Shaman to be concerned about the safety of his power plant.
Yeah. This also scared me. Even then, I just saw it like 2 years ago. I was like, "Oh, demon cows! Okay, didn't
Yeah.
see that coming."
Stampede is the last of his kind, too.
Interestingly, Stampede is kind of techno-organic mysticism, while these guys are. There's a clear line drawn between their organic and their technology and their mysticism. He's like an unholy merging of the three, showing that you shouldn't let one or the other kind of overrun the other. There needs to be balance.
He looks like something H.R. Giger dreamed up
Oh god, oh that's very true.
or nightmared up. Good looking man Shaman was when he was young. Those distinguished streaks in his hair.
He had that voice as well. He had that. He had that. The voice actor did an extraordinary, like the mentor voice.
Calm,
The,
powerful,
yeah, he doesn't need
soothing,
to shout. Doesn't need
soothing
to
and
shout.
powerful at the same time. Very similar to Optimus Prime. Soothing and powerful.
Soothing and powerful. Peter Cullen. Mm-hmm. It's also nice to see Shaman before he became an old man, to see how powerful he was, to see how strong he was. Very much when you get that, like, look at Obi-Wan Kenobi before he
Yeah.
became the desert hermit.
Yeah. Wow. Those ships are awesome.
Yeah, dope.
There's one of those lessons.
Ow.
Power has a price. Careful what you wish for.
Because you just might get it. Well, that's what happened to the rest of the ships. Oh, I forgot the explosion destroyed all the other ships except for this.
Yeah. Shaman's a very silver lining type of guy. Yeah, the whole tribe is wiped out, but on the bright side,
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
well, this
But I
is where the
think,
spirit animals come in.
yeah, it's the power generator.
This is very much the old saying: when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The medallion.
This is also a rare moment of emotion shown in a. He kind of figures it out, and the greeting that he gives him is actually quite emotional. I think they
Yeah.
actually embrace properly.
Wow.
Let's see, there it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Big hug, you know?
Beautiful.
And tears. Heroes were allowed to cry, you know?
Beautiful.
Wow.
This is such a great scene, him getting the powers. It's not just handing him a card or just saying recite the magic words and blah blah blah. Like it's a bit of an excruciating process for him.
He gets hit by lightning.
multiple times.
Look at his face. He's like, what?
Ow!
Ow!
Should I have a shirt on, shaman? Like, should I get my jacket?
No. If you wear clothes, it might catch fire. Just please trust me.
What? Fire?
What? Ow!
It's true. He gets hit by lightning several times. That's an important one.
Can we continue tomorrow? I can't. Ow!
I still call upon the strength of the bear when I'm trying to open an especially stuck jar for my wife. It doesn't always indulge me. I think the speed of the puma has left me. The eyes of the hawk have left me. Ears of the wolf are on their way out too.
Whenever I open a jar for my wife, she's like, "He-Man, could you stop, please?"
If you could have the power of one spirit animal, what would you have?
Oh gosh, Eyes of the Hawk for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Or make one up yourself that Bravestarr didn't have.
Oh wow. He kind of covered the lot.
I'd have the endurance of the husky. Watching my dog run around, I want that endurance. He does zoomies. He does zoomies and like tons of zoomies, run around in circles in the backyard. He will stop and pant for 10 seconds and then do another 10 circles. I want endurance of the husky.
I would take endurance. I would not. I take the healing of the earthworm so that my knee would fix itself. Because man,
healing of the salamander.
Something just to help me regrow this and let it not hurt anymore. The youthful indiscretions don't really pay you back until you hit that age, and when they do, you really question the validity of some of the choices you made when you were a kid. The word is always be kind to your knees. You miss them when they're gone, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Fuzz's voice choice. He is an Ewok.
Yeah, he is.
Pleased to meet you, JB.
He totally is.
That's wicked. That's wicked.
That's a good impression.
Thank you. I suspect Skuz's voice actor is the same as Fuzz. I suspect.
Probably. Oh, this is great. You need a weapon. I got one right here. No, you fool. You idiot. You've got to be the stupidest kid I've ever seen.
It's
friendship. Friendship is the ultimate weapon.
It's so dismissive. Mere toys. Put them away. And he kind of, aw, Dad.
Yeah. You're going to get on a Questroid. It's awesome. Questroid is the ultimate toy. The thing about 3030, though, he's Bravestar's horse that he rides around on. Bravestarr really doesn't need him because he's got the speed of the puma. He can just go anywhere on his own 2 feet and get there faster.
Yeah, but he's literally his. I mean, he's literally his riding partner. Like he's his deputy. He's his
Yeah.
best friend. You know.
Yeah, his backup.
You know, when two hands won't do, he's got four. You know.
So there's this hall of equestroids, very fancy looking.
Those are graves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm convinced those are graves.
Very fancy looking, and like the thing that they honor and worship is a big gun. That's the holy artifact in this temple. A big gun. Sarah Jane.
It goes in contrast to, and he just busts down the door. No one's been in here for 50 years.
Dude.
Come on, man.
Dude, so disrespectful. It's clearly a temple of some kind. Like, try knocking. Can you really blame 3030 for punching this guy?
Exactly, right? It's a stark contrast to two weapons because Bravestarr is the weapon. 3030 is his best weapon, but now, you know, he thinks he's here for what's essentially a shotgun. You know, there's a...
They always treat Sarah Jane as the ultimate gun on the show, though. There's no gun more powerful than Sarah Jane. Not Bravestarr's. Not
none that looks like it.
That's right, yeah. Dismissing him like a stray cat, stray horse.
Give him a pat.
Oh, he's angry. Got any sugar cubes? And they don't show the transformation the very first time he transforms. It's just off screen. Boom.
And the inflection of his voice that keeps him as a horse. No! You know? The eyes. Like,
you've come to blunder. This is the great line for anyone trespassing at your house on your lawn. You have come to blunder.
As I shoot at them with my ray gun shotgun.
And he's doing a lot more destruction to the temple than Bravestarr did. But that's, you know, what Equestroids are all about. This is why he's the last. I'm sure they shot each other by accident quite often.
Oh, the fluidity of the motion, the breathing, the rage, everything here is done so well. There's a punch that 3030 throws. The first one, you could tell that was a disrespectful backhand. It's the attitude behind it.
It's one of the, I think, only times that we see Bravestarr and 3030 fight. First encounter.
I'm going to say it might be the first and only, indeed.
I think that's the knockout blow right there.
Nah.
I'm so glad there weren't any wrestling or MMA moves in there.
Choking him out.
Yeah. Imagine if he went for a triangle choke. Oh, the worst is when you see two giant behemoths pounding on each other.
Oh my gosh.
Triangle choke. Like, oh.
No.
I just watched an old Pride fight. It was it was Ken Shamrock and Don Fry. Holy smokes.
Don Fry is a monster.
Yeah. This is kind of reminding me of Shamrock versus Fry. Or Fry versus Akiyama. Oh, stops the punch. Oh, I love that. The silhouette, the outline of the bear behind him.
Yep. And that was drawn in negative and overlaid. I love these tricks that they used to use. They had to be creative. It wasn't just like clickety-click render. It was, you know.
Yeah. He wants to stay with the temple and his brothers. He's accepted. I mean, that's the whole point of the way of the warrior, is to accept death. Once you've accepted it, you're not afraid of it anymore. And then in a sense, you're always looking for it. Like, where is the end to my story? Where is my fitting end?
Yes.
And this is 3030's death right here. All his brothers are gone. And this is the end of
The
him.
face he makes, the face. Oh,
A little bit of Looney Tunes there. But he's accepted his death here, and everything going forward from this moment is just him looking for that death that he was deprived of here, or, every day is a bonus basically from this day forth.
I think it's he'd written a book for himself, and when his race all passed away, he believed the book to be over. And then when he got punched there, he realized there's a new chapter in his life, I think he hits him right here.
Oh, this is great. For real. That reminds me of the Firefly episode where Malcolm now we can be friends. He's smiling. There's a Firefly episode with a duel between Malcolm Reynolds and some other guy. And after the duel where Malcolm won, he said something like, "Mercy is the hallmark of a great man," something to that effect.
Right.
And then he's like, I think he stabs the guy while he's defenseless on the ground. He goes, "Well, I guess I'm just a good man." And then he stabs him again. I'm okay. That's what that scene reminds me of.
Interestingly, that just triggered a very old memory I had. My best friend to this date, we got in a fight before we were friends, a fist fight, and then we became best friends after. So it's interesting, They say that unfortunately, the Joker, like Dark Knight said it, it's only when you're engaged in combat do you really discover who you really are.
That happens so often where you hear stories mostly of kids, but I guess it can happen with adults too. I mean, just look at MMA, which we were just talking about, or boxing. You see guys trash talking each other, and they hate each other so much, and then they fight. And what do they do when the fight is over? What do? They hug.
Hands. They hug and shake hands. And
Fry and Shamrock, what did they do when the fight was over? They were giving each other the death stare at the beginning of the fight. Fight's over, they hug. You just get it out of your system and you hug.
I can't remember the writer's name, but he wrote Ender's Game. But the moral of that entire book was essentially in fighting the adversary and coming to learn their tactics and who they are, you inevitably come to love them. And I find that's very true to form and very effectively put in most forms of effective media with good friends. They usually have like a head-butting, and that's necessary.
That was Orson Scott Card.
There it is. Thank you. That's who it was.
There are certain people you shouldn't ever be friends with, though. And so those are truly people not worth even fighting, because you could fight them and still despise them, because they're the Stampedes and Tex Hexes of the world, truly evil people.
It's true. Because they're, unfortunately, what is it? They fight you, they drag you down to their level, and then they beat you with experience. At this point, Bravestar's been gone for 3 days, so
is our new marshal coming back?
I think we need a replacement and a new judge, because she's also been gone for about 3 days.
They're bickering like it's not your typical cowboy with his loving horse. They're just they are on and chewy, always bickering.
He's such a good who's the pig in the union? What is that? I don't remember you from the show. Oh, there we go. There's the cough. I think, yep, he eats it. Oh, jeez. The cartoonish face. Look at the joy in those expressions. It's fantastic, fantastic art. Now that dang marshal's gone. What a fantastic voice. Those inflections. Villainous. He looks a lot like Skeletor, but he's not Skeletor. So good on them. You know what I mean? Because it's still Filmation. They could have just copied Skeletor, but they didn't. They made him
And
different.
it's said that he was supposed to be a He-Man villain initially, and they held off. And then when they came up with the concept for Bravestarr, they decided, well, let's use Tex Hex. I guess maybe it was supposed to be the counterpart to Rio Blast, because Rio is right out of New Texas, right?
When you put that in context with Rio Blast, it's like, yeah. But I'm glad we didn't get to see Tex Hex in fuzzy underpants. I'm glad we saw him here in Bravestarr.
That's true.
Because the idea of Scuzz being the main villain in Bravestarr just does not appeal to me.
No. And Rio is almost wearing the same colors as Bravestarr too. I always refer to him as Marshall Blast.
I think he wears, it's a blue kind of vest he wears. It's very similar. Very similar.
It's awesome to look. It's kind of like watching Star Wars, all the people in the cantina whenever there's a bar scene in Bravestarr. All the people in the background. You never know what pig or or what Undertaker robot you'll see. Handlebar is cool too.
The only one not panicking.
I love that he sounds like Charles Bronson.
Everybody outside.
You believe in Jesus, you're gonna meet him. Now this is the rematch.
Yeah,
he got thumped by Clubber Lang last time, and now he's gone off to train with Apollo Creed, and it's going to be a different fight this time.
He's brought his crew with him. I don't think Scuzz's vehicle is meant to fly, but we'll take it.
Or Fuzz.
Oh, I guess it does fly. Oh, excuse me. Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Oh, the jump. Oh.
Big hero shot. And the whistle, and in the intro, that's where 3030 transforms. This is all intro shots.
Yep.
Oh, laying the smackdown. There it is. So just a few seconds, but so many dozens of cells used to animate that sequence of him transforming.
At this point, the American animation studios were very much in competition with one another. It's one of those cases where the monopoly that it exists right now does no good for the animation industry as it does for none other, because they were basically trying to outdo each other. They were fighting against G.I. Joe. They were fighting against, Sunbow. They were fighting against everybody. So the kids know quality, whether we like it or not. They knew that if their stuff looked better, kids would want to see it. If our action was better, if our stories were better, character design, animation. And we've lost that now, unfortunately. Now it's no longer about the style and all that. It's about the message in inverted commas. And by message, I mean agenda.
Yeah. I can confirm that. I remember when I was a kid, I could tell the difference between exceptional quality and Deke.
Those poor Deke guys.
Well, like 88, 89 Deke anyway. Earlier Deke was good, Ghostbusters and Mask, but later on it was, like Buzz says, do it cheap.
Yeah, do it cheap, do it fast, do it now. Come on. The child is there like,
it's gonna be a transformer.
Let's build Metroplex.
Transform Autobot City. Starscream comes in out of nowhere. My foot! The Hexagon is the name of their villain hideout.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, oh my, I didn't know that.
The Hexagon. remember one episode where they steal a train. I think the train might have a bunch of food on it,
Right.
and 3030 was my favorite character. I mean, Bravestarr is fantastic. Not taking anything away from him, but you always got that one character who's not the star that you go, that's my guy right there. And Stampede has the train, and 3030 has the other end of it. 3030 is pulling it, and Stampede's trying to pull it away. And I remember that scene. What a thrill I got watching that scene, because it was 3030 going against the ultimate villain of the show. And he's actually almost holding his own. Like 3030 is not supposed to be as strong as Bravestarr, let alone Stampede. And he's actually like, he's holding the train back and he's getting dragged, but he's giving it his all. And, help. But just the fact that he could hang with Stampede, it was kind of like watching one of my favorites, like Roddy Piper, actually hold his own with Andre the Giant for a few minutes. Is just awesome to see my favorite go against the big villain of the show.
At that point, it really becomes, it's not about the strength, it's just about brute force and ignorance. I am not going to lose.
Well, I was going to say tenacity, but brute force and ignorance. Yeah, that sounds like 3030. Stubbornness. Whoa, that's a powerful gavel.
Maybe use another hammer. I would be curious to know if someone sat down and like, look, it's the competition.
He's so angry. He's so angry. Big horseshoe. I hurt his hands. Ignorance and brute force. There's an example of it right there.
I am not going to lose. I would love to know if someone designed all this, or if this was like somebody just sitting there and just, you know what I mean? Whether if it was planned, or because I don't think you see these set pieces again, really. So I'm wondering if it's just pure inspiration as the artist did it, or if there was actually a general plan that they followed for the town. Grayskull had a plan. Snake Mountain had a plan when they're drawing their certain rooms. So
it looks complicated enough that you would think they would have some kind of blueprint somewhere. If it's not, then hats off to them, because it's pretty complicated and spectacular looking.
It is. It's suitably futuristic, or at least what they thought the future would look like.
It's nothing like the toy either, but that goes for all the toys in the show. And I think the toy line was not a factor by the time the show came out. It was, which way was it? It was either the show came out a year after the toys were done, or the toys came out a year after the show was canceled. It's one or the other. I think the toys came out first.
I just remember my first exposure to the Bravestarr toys was a friend of mine bought one to school. And I was like, they made toys of this? Which probably means the show came first.
The show was 86. The toys were 87. So by the time the toys were late to the game, by the time the toys came out, the show was late to the game.
Right.
So by the time the show came out, the toys were gone on clearance.
Oh.
And in the 80s, they needed to both come out at the same time and have that synergy.
Yeah. They did. Because when the kids saw it online, they asked the parents. If the parents couldn't find it, they weren't going to try beyond that moment. Because if the kids stopped asking, the parents would not do it anymore. I don't speak in from experience.
Like the Bravestarr figure itself, it didn't even have a ponytail, and that's kind of one of the important parts of his look. It's an important part of his native heritage, is the long hair tied back, and just the fact that the figure was missing it. As big a fan of the show as I was, the toys were still here and there after I had already grown to really like the show. And I remember seeing the figure, in addition to it being too big and too much, just going, well, it doesn't even look like him. It's missing the ponytail. Plus 30-30 looked nothing like
Oh, 30-30 was a
cartoon.
disaster. And I feel, unfortunately, he's very much limited by his time, because I feel nowadays they could have easily done that better. But in those days, they were like, right, we need this to do this, but it also needs to transform into a man. And you can
Yeah.
also see the designers like,
That's not
oh,
possible.
the
Yeah,
last thing we did was we made Battle Cat and he had no articulation. Don't do this to us.
yeah. They were probably thinking, look, I can give you a horse that can stand up, or I can give you a man who can lean over and
Lean
stand
over.
on all fours.
Very accurate.
Which one do you want? Whoops. Oh.
Yeah, damn. 30-30 and the only one with a temper.
Yeah, he's a bad influence on her.
This was an oddly humanizing moment where she says she's scared, I think.
You don't hear that very often, where the heroes
No.
are scared that the impending invasion.
No.
Again, more of a movie aspect to it.
They did. It's very cinematic.
Oh, the moon.
There it is. Selective shadows. Good job, Filmation. And he's backlit. And she's frontlit. Really well done there, too.
Bravestarr is about to say, "Don't fall in love with me."
I know it's hard with this moonlight.
And all the powers that I have. And it's really refreshing to see him console her without being a scuzz bag. Well, I was going to say without, trying to make a move on her, but the night is young, apparently.
It's human enough. It's human enough.
There you go.
And we're not. I think she goes in after. Or was it him? I can't remember. It's her. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's important there, because that was pretty forward for the good Marshal.
And then the leg.
And the fact that she, she
Here's
goes in for seconds. Yeah. Makes it okay.
Well, it's playful flirting and mutual kind of affection that it's well studied and executed, as opposed to nowadays where I find all the dudes are kind of smarmy and all the girls are either hyper aggressive and rejective, and it's not. I don't know, man.
It's just it's such a volatile topic.
It is.
And what we just watched was a harmless, playful little a kiss in a Western. And I don't see how that can be a volatile topic unless there's something seriously wrong with the wiring.
Yeah.
And so I just don't even bother to discuss.
It's a good word that you used there. The word playful. Because in essence, we grow out of our ability to play, right? We start off as kids, we play, and we learn a lot from it. A lot of our games and stuff reflects, who we will become. But we're no longer allowed to play. We're forced to grow up too fast. So that, in essence, is two adults. That's Marshall, Bravestarr, and Judge McBride. For a few moments, they played and they checked and they found that they liked the game that they played and they carried on. And that was very healthy. We don't have that anymore.
Well, I agree. Absolutely. When you say we grow up, I mean, even look at grown men who collect toys are discouraged from not even playing with the toys, but just enjoying them, being happy by having that toy, in order to condone, to be accepted, to not be thought of as a weirdo and a freak and maladjusted. Um, a lot of people do things with their toys in order to try to make themselves feel more accepted by society, like being miserable.
Yeah.
Complaining about distribution and toy quality, for starters. Um, it's okay to enjoy your toys. You don't necessarily have to play with them, but it's completely fine to have them and to like them, to love them, to enjoy them, to play. You know, in a
Yeah.
way, playing isn't always uh, vrooming them across the ground and making laser noises. It's just it's appreciating it as a little work of art that it is.
Exactly. It doesn't always need to be, it people enjoy
A
things in
burden,
different
a
ways.
burden.
Yeah, it doesn't oh, that's a good word. It shouldn't be a burden. Society shouldn't make it a burden, and you should have yourself, whatever fun that you have when you purchase these as you said, little plastic art pieces. Even if it is not really all that much of an art piece, hell, it could be a Rubik's Cube. Man, play. Try not to let the world make you grow up too fast, because once you've grown up, you really can't go back.
Yeah, that's true. I love that the skid back and he grabbed the gun on the way back. All these little tiny moments just snuck in all throughout this movie. The pig guy again.
Pig, who is this man?
The mystery pig. There it is again. Oh man, I get a charge every time he does that. I love that scene. Oh, here comes Sarah Jane. He is going to work.
And this, where is Union Pig's action figure? I mean, what is this? Whoa. That is a rock. Oh, and it's okay. It's okay because he is Wile E. Coyote. It's fine.
Yeah, they're dingoes. They could get flattened by a steamroller and they would survive. Oh boy, the cloud with the fight in it. Another Looney Tunes staple. Strato Coach. They did make a toy of that.
Did they make it?
Yeah.
Did they make it?
They never made the rider. She was awesome. But they did do the Strato Coach.
I think her name is Maggie. I think.
Maggie.
Oh, someone begin with M. Oh, she's dead. That thing broke metal. Oh, okay, all right. I thought she was going to hit the girl with the hammer. I was like, oh, no.
Love that filmation rotoscoping. It's so fluid.
Was this rotoscoped?
Well, some shots looked like it, like when the judge was throwing the hammer, gavel. Yeah. That looked a little more fluid than the typical animation. He just screams. He's so angry. Yeah.
All I've got left is anger.
And magic.
And magic, more critically, between the two things I have left.
30-30, what are you going to do? Shoot it. And he kills it.
Violence doesn't solve everything, but in this case,
Violence doesn't solve everything, but Sarah Jane solves about 95% of your problems.
For everything else is ridiculous levels of violence,
There's actually an episode where Bravestarr 30-30 really botches something badly because of the way he always is, and Bravestarr had just had it with him and kind of read him the riot act.
Wow.
And 30-30 leaves. It might be called the disappearance of 30-30. He just takes off. He's like, to heck with all of you. Just leaves because he got chewed out for being himself.
Does it follow 30-30 or follow Bravestarr after that happens?
I think both.
It follows a little bit of both.
I believe so. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I see the episode title all the time on YouTube. But and it's an episode where 30-30 realizes the error of his ways, as well as Bravestarr realizing I was a little hard on the horse.
Interestingly, I think those episodes where the team splits up, or an important element of the team, a more volatile element, has been chewed out and leaves and goes on a journey of self discovery, has been a staple of children's cartooning. It's like since forever. Recently, I think I watched an episode like that in Paw Patrol as well, and I think those episodes, I hope there always are those in series, because it's important to show the heroes also have to reflect on their actions, also have to deal with the consequences. And I think it's children learn from this. And a lot of shows don't do it. But they've kept on to that one, that singular one, because it's a good storytelling element, and I hope they keep doing it. Bluey is very good with that. And I don't want to get into Bluey because that show is that's a good one. Good old Australians.
It's an important aspect of native cultures going on a spirit walk, a vision quest.
A vision
You
quest.
you need to walk away from your family, from your friends, your tribe, your support. You need to do this alone, on your own. And in society, being alone can be a very scary thing, but there's strength to be had from doing some things on your own.
There's a don't mean to get grim, but right before in Japanese culture, right before samurai committed the ritual suicide, they were encouraged to sit the night before and write poetry because they believed that right before death, mysteries of life would be revealed to them.
Wow.
And they wrote some amazing poetry, some amazing haikus. And I found
Really?
yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't know that existed. That right there is some warrior poet wisdom right there. Wow.
On the verge of death, they would write what they thought and what they felt in the form of poetry. It was amazing.
I searched for years for poetry written by warriors, and very, very little of it exists out there. Very little. But now that I know that exists, I wonder if it's actually written down somewhere, these samurai seppuku poems.
Seppuku, yep. They were ironically called death poems.
Wow.
And they do exist. Here they are.
That's some heavy reading right there.
Yeah, I don't want to read it here, but yeah, I just took a look at 2 or 3 of them and I was like, yep, they exist. All right. But it's amazing that when the fear of death has been removed, how brave one can truly become.
Look at 3030.
Exactly. Not afraid of death. Watched his whole everybody die. He's the last one.
Yep. So Metroplex is transformed. It's in battle station mode. Looks nothing like the toy. The toy is just a cube when you put it into battle.
It was basically the jail.
It was the jail, the bank, in his office.
Right.
Marshall's office. 3 different parts. They might have all been sold individually and as a box set, but you could fold them all up.
But the figures are 6-inch or 5 foot, like He-Man.
They're
5
huge.
5 inch. They're huge. So those buildings must
7?
have been.
They might be 7 or 8. Yeah, they're big. They're bigger than most other toys. They're like Mego sized.
Oh wow! So the buildings, could the figures go in the buildings?
Yeah. The building is huge. Fort Carium is enormous. Sarah Jane never needs to reload. Oh, that was awesome. He actually pumps it and shoots it while the thing is biting it. This reminds me of those bone creatures in Mario that you would stomp, the bone turtles.
The dry bones.
Yeah, and they'd come back after a few seconds. Shaman rolls in with a tank.
I have come, Bravestarr.
That would be the Bravestarr reboot, Shaman in a tank. Ancient tank. I like that the final battle, the climax is Shaman versus Stampede. It's very
Yes.
much Luke versus Vader, while all hell is breaking loose around them in Return of the Jedi. Ooh.
That's a rough one. Wasted no time.
Does anyone have any ointment? Whoa. Oh, that shot, the reflection in the eye, the music, perfection. Turned
Oh, I
into a
think
flaming, speeding head.
he never does that trick again, but
Speed
I
of the
think after
skull.
I think
Whoa.
after I think after this, Stampede lost a lot of his powers, but so did Shaman, I feel.
Just wore each other out.
They just wore each other out.
Yeah, the threat was always there of if you try something, I'll be there to cancel you out. So
Yeah.
why bother? It's a stalemate.
Kick them when they're down. Jeez.
I think Roddy Piper once said, I never hit a man while he's down. I kick him, it's easier. That's
Classic lines.
It's Texas philosophy.
Oh.
Whoa. You mess with my little pard.
Oh, jeez.
Crushed his foot. Oh, that scream. That had to hurt.
All the sensitive bones.
He's used it to pick boulders up and smash speeder bikes together, and to use that to crush a foot. Ow. See, this is exactly like when 3030 got in the tug of war with Stampede. You know Bravestarr won't win here, but it's just incredible that he's putting up as much of a fight as he is.
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh. The very spear of Loginus kind of thing.
That sound he makes tells you the fight's over. He goes from like the vicious scream to, oh, I need to sit down. Oh, he did beat him. I'd forgotten quite a bit of this end battle just because there's so much going on.
Whew. All right. Drinks on me.
Round of Sweetwater.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Really?
He just made it.
Oh.
Late to the party. Shaman's just going to teleport the stick up there. You know, I never really thought about it, but you're right. He is worn out from this fight for the rest of the show. That's it. Like,
he fought Satan. He's done. Just all right. Y'all are on your own for a bit. I'll give you advice, but
this movie wore his knees out, his back, his elbows. If you want to come and roast some marshmallows on the fire, okay, but I'm not up for fighting anymore.
You want to talk? No problem. You know where to find me.
Oh, a little bit of Spanish. Adios. Now, where is he going? He's the town marshal.
He's gonna be in his office.
it's like a Western goodbye scene, but where is he going? I'm going to work. Maybe out to the prairie to check the trouble.
He's going to be macho. He's gonna ride just right over the ridge and then just lie down like, oh,
Oh, I'm
my
so
body.
tired. Oh, my neck.
Oh, I wonder if somebody needs a farmhand somewhere. This was hard. Come along. Oh, he broke his arm.
Oh, oh, he's deputized. That's awesome. You is under arrest. Oh, he's healed.
He's under arrest for being too cute.
His joy has healed him. Joy of the prairie person.
Strength of the mid. Joy of the prairie person. Oh.
I was expecting one of those PSAs, but not for the movie. The movie is missing and the legendary Alan Oppenheimer. Ed Gilbert's in there too, voice of General Hawk on G.I. Joe.
Oh my gosh.
I believe he was 30-30. Just going to confirm that. But yeah, the movie did not have the famous intro theme or PSA at the end.
I'm specifically looking here. Is it for one thing? So if you look at the layout section,
Wow.
it's like 50 people for layout. Because they would have been in charge of all these little set designs and stuff. And I'm just wondering to myself if there's no head lead layout person from what I saw. So more than likely they were all just, I felt like they were on a crunch and they had to just draw as much as they could. And that's so true to the animation market in those days. And I respect those guys a lot. Because that was, backgrounds were no small matter. It's one thing if you're in a forest, you can get away with fudging up a tree, but with technology and stuff like that, the perspective needs to be perfect. Otherwise, it all looks weird.
Yeah. Just an incredible
assistant animation. This is the list.
Yeah.
Another 150 something people. So many people involved in this.
You know, what's incredible to me is that Ed Gilbert played General Hawk on G.I. Joe, the kind of calming, grandfatherly, all right, Joes, let's go. Yo, Joe, like that calming, soothing, intelligent General Hawk voice. And he's 30-30. And he's shaman. He does it all. It's incredible.
Cool. It's not just range.
And not just the ability to do the different voices, but the tone of them all, like the rambunctiousness, the rage of 30-30, the calmingness of Shaman and Hawk. It's really incredible that he can do both of them.
This is the painting department we're going through here. That's another 150 people. Because it's one thing to draw it. This is animation. Those guys had to paint it. There was no Photoshop. There was no clickety click. But the voice actors and actors in general do have to possess a certain degree of range, because it's horrible to be typecast. I mean, who wants to be the same dude all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Even Peter Cullen has been a villain. You know what I mean? Several villains.
Yeah. Murky Dismal. Wow. What a great movie.
It's fantastic. Interestingly, if you go online on YouTube and you type in old anime or anything like that, you can find quite the wealth of old shows. And I'm glad that YouTube hasn't taken them down, because some of these things cannot be found in print anywhere. Mm-hmm. So the preservation of these things to me is of such a high level of importance. So I'm glad that Bravestarr, because I don't think it has a DVD or a Blu-ray release.
The movie did have a DVD release. And the whole series did as well. So
thank goodness.
The movie, I believe, was included with a set of like the top 5 favorite episodes plus the movie, I believe. And then the series was released on 2 volumes. So it was out there, but that was quite a while ago. And, you know, just in the world we live in now, it's more about where can I stream it? So it's nice that it's around. And One of the problems with some of the official channels that play these old shows, I don't think Transformers and G.I. Joe is as guilty of this. They do have commercials here and there, but I remember watching some of the He-Man and Bravestarr episodes on the official channels a while ago, and it was just obscene how many commercials were stuck in there. It felt like every 2 minutes. You weren't getting anything out of it with that frequent commercials. It's just it's not necessary. Like, you just do it like the old days, put a commercial every 7 minutes. What's the big deal? But some of them just went overboard, where it was literally like, oh my god, really? Like it, and I would check the timer, like, it's been 2 or 3 minutes since the last commercial. Come on.
Cartoons are really for kids and their entertainment, and some of them got a pretty short attention span. If you give them a commercial every 2 minutes, they're not going to get into any kind of property. It's not going to work. I mean, ugh.
Not at all.
Even TV itself is not that merciless with regards to the commercials. I think you got 10, 12 minutes before you get your first commercial break. You know, you can watch a full mini episode, 7 minutes, 11 minutes long, and then all of a sudden, commercial. And at that point, you feel like, okay, you've earned your commercial. I'll go get a drink while you do that, you know?
So, Bravestarr, final thoughts on the legend of Bravestarr?
With regards to how unique it was in its time frame, in a place where a lot of cartoons came out and didn't really introduce our heroes to their settings and their villains, it really does stand alone. I don't think any of the other cartoons really had that. An origin story, a full 90 minutes that introduced villains, heroes, the quest, and as well set up the setting so very well. The animation style is top notch. It still stands up even today. There's a mixture of rotoscoping, fantastic shading, fantastic lighting, good voice acting, and you can show this to anybody right now. And aside from the little film grain that you get that must come through degradation through time, I think it's very much a fantastic piece of art above being just a cartoon.
And there are no questions left after watching this. Like, we find out where Tex comes from, even Stampede. I'm not really curious. You know, there really isn't much to his origin, but what little there was, we saw it. McBride, how he lost the use of his legs, like, it is all revealed in here. There's nothing left to the imagination, and I think for anyone who is a fan of Bravestarr, or was, and had never seen the movie, it might be the best way to do it is to watch the legend for our last. Watch it after having watched all the other episodes. Finish with the prequel.
I think that would be.
Because it might be the best.
I think you might be right. Yeah,
it might be the best episode. It is.
I think I agree with you on that one. It certainly is. It's less. I don't want to say cheese, because that's not right. But it's less. It's less sanitized. Let's use that. It's less sanitized. The other ones are for kids. This one could be for adults and for kids.
It has the nicest animation, clearly the most budget, the most soulful scenes to it, the most spiritual scenes to it. Hits the heart. A lot of the episodes do, but this one is just everything that every other episode does, really polished. Like basically the Transformers of the movie of the Bravestarr world. This was them on the big stage.
I would dare say that I think this is a little better than the Transformers movie, because the story didn't have to assassinate anybody to achieve a wow factor, and it wasn't disrespectful to anybody or anybody's. So for your reference, is what you just said, watching it, if you watch the entire G1 series and then you watch the Transformers movie, you're going to feel betrayed.
Yeah.
But if you watch all of Bravestarr and then you watch this, you're going to leave with a happy feeling. You know, I dare say this might be a little better.
That's true. Yeah, in that sense. There's no Stan Bush in the Bravestarr movie, so that's disappointing.
Wow. I mean,
but how many movies had Stan Bush? I mean, Rocky IV and no, sorry, I'm thinking Bloodsport. Bloodsport had Stan Bush, the Kumite song.
You can't have everything, but
Rocky 4 was Vince DiCola though, so it had
Yes, it
fantastic
was.
music.
I
Yeah, fantastic movie. Loved it. 3030, the origin story of how they meet is classic. Perfect. How else would they have met?
in a 90-minute movie, there's a 7-minute brawl in the middle that shows how they met.
And it involves the destruction of everything that 3030 knew and held dear. It's all gone. It's all his whole history, all of his friends, his family. It's all gone.
As well as him more than willing to die on the hill and then getting knocked out unsaved. It's just this
And
is
I
a good
think have you seen the new Indy movie, Indy 5?
Indy 5 as in Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
Uh,
what's it called? Dial of Destiny.
a little bit. A little
Okay.
bit.
All right. Well, for anyone, I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, but I'll just say that there's a similar scene in Dial of Destiny, and I think it was handled better in Bravestarr. 3030 getting punched and dragged out of a place against his will. I think it was better in this movie.
Well,
But the punch at the end, like we're even now. Nope. That was the cherry on the cake, because that's 3030's that's his personality, that's his character right there. You know, maybe someday, but I'm not a big enough man to get over this just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if like 3 days from then he just punched Bravestarr in the office. I just kind of felt like I owed you a little more. I mean, that was my temple. My brother was there.
You knocked me out. I didn't knock you out. That's
Yeah.
until you're knocked out, then it's not even.
Tried to steal my gun.
And every day you ride me. I don't like that. You know,
This sacred gun. The lighting and the setup is like the golden idol in Raiders of the Lost Ark, or the Holy Grail in Last Crusade. Like, it's a sacred, special, magical thing. It's a gun. It's just a gun lying under a spotlight. Like, what is he doing? Praying to it 3 times a day?
So funny enough, that kind of, I don't know if you saw the Conan movie, the new one with Jason Momoa.
Oh yeah,
Right. Remember in the very beginning, where the bad guys attack, they go inside this like a place where these Sumerians made weapons, and he's like, the thing that we're looking for is in here. It has to be in here. This is their church. This is where they pray, because it's where they made their weapons and their swords. And ironically, because Yakasha was such a violent race, the gun would be something that's seen as something sacred to them as well. That is their church. That is, I suspect, also the burial ground for many of their fallen brethren. All of their fallen brethren, except for just one.
I think there might have been an episode in the show somewhere along the way where they go back to that hall, and it's, now my memory is pretty foggy on it. I got to go watch some more Bravestarr, but either part of the temple is still there, or they just decide there's another one. I'm not entirely sure, but I remember seeing the Hall of the Equestroids or something similar to it on the show in one of the episodes. So that could just be a case of cartoon makers don't care. They're like, look, we're just trying to pump out 65 episodes here to get into syndication.
I mean,
let's not overthink it.
Maybe there's that part fell down. Maybe the other parts, like maybe not. But it was a beautiful design, regardless. The whole design of, and this is a Native American culture thing. They used to draw what was important in their lives. So you see them draw the horse. They see them draw the herds of buffalo. They see them draw all these different things. And it's just interesting that and I still insist that their graves in the hall, all the big horses very much were drawn as large, majestic size, stature, state, and also swords, axes, and guns. That's everywhere as well in the iconography. And it does kind of give this kind of testament towards like a warlike culture, but it also kind of honorific, because in the way that 3030 is a violent guy, but at the same time he understood, well, you beat me, and now I've got to die. And Bravestarr's like, that's dumb. Come on.
He has a sense of honor. It's kind of like a Klingon type of sense of honor. Like you won fair and square, and it's over. You know, and Bravestarr is the one that doesn't want it to be over. Oh, like we got to be friends now.
Yeah, we fought. Yeah, exactly. What? Maybe that's why we died out. We didn't make friends. It's just not all that is old is bad, and not all that is new is good. So anybody who wants to take a look back in time and see what, in some cases, your dad or your uncles may have grown up with, and the morals and such, and how they were preached, Bravestar's a good place to start, because it
Yeah.
certainly did kind of paint the bad guys as bad guys, paint the good guys as good guys, and showed us that, you know what, sometimes it's just that simple. Some people are just bad, some people are just good, and there's no other way to deal with it other than calling on the strength of the bear and turning them inside out. That's it.
Or pulling out Sarah Jane and
And letting them out.
blasting a hole right through them. I've recommended the show many, many times over the last several years, so I'm sure people have regularly watched this channel, and especially have gotten this far into this commentary, know my feelings on how kids should be watching this show. Not just the movie, but the show as well. It's got a lot of good morals to it, and this is one of the shows I hope they never bring back. You're absolutely right. Not everything new is good. When I did the history of Centurions, the message I kept trying to get across in that is, we don't need a reboot. We don't need another reboot.
Just fine the way it was.
Just fine the way it was. The toys are fine. Reissues would be nice just for cost, but doing new toys it's going to cost you, and they're not necessarily going to be great. And I feel the same way about Bravestarr. It doesn't need a reboot because the original is fantastic. You don't need to always improve on something that's fantastic. You need to just, it's kind of like going out and ordering the same dish you always get because it's fantastic. You don't ask the chef, can you make it better? No, it's fantastic. Or going to a pizza place that's $5 or $10 more than every other place because it's that good. You don't ask the chef to make the pizza a little better. It's just great. You just get it again. So
exactly.
for Bravestarr, get it again. Just go watch it again. The toys, don't get them. You're not really missing much. I have them and I enjoy them for the connection to the show, but for me, it's all about the show. And I never had a single Bravestarr toy until around the time I started the channel. And I only got them as a connection to the show. That the toys are really nothing to write home about. It's all about the show, and the show is around. You can watch it for free, streaming for free here and there, hopefully the DVDs are still cheap. I remember they were on clearance here in Zellers when they first came out. You could get one of the sets for like $5 or $10, so it was a pretty insane deal. But yeah, it's fine. It's great. Doesn't need to be tweaked or polished. It's great the way it is, and all it costs is your time.
It's true. There's no reason to try to improve on something, because in many ways, if you remove the imperfections, you're going to change it in such a way where it's no longer perfect. And Bravestarr, for what it is and what it was and what it will continue to be, is always going to be good. And I could say the same about any of those shows that we grew up with and many of those toy lines. They were great because we grew up with them. And if you want to see, it's a time capsule, go ahead and take a look. It doesn't need to be reborn.
Yeah, and I think I'll end with kind of the lesson, one of the lessons of the movie. If you do get new Bravestarr, if you want new Bravestarr show toys, and you get new Bravestarr show and toys, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And with that, good brother, thank you for your time. It's been fantastic. So much fun.
Dude, thanks for having me. I love these things.
Very much appreciated. And thanks to anyone who is listening along. Hope you all have a fantastic day and week and month. Good night. Good luck. God bless. And nerd stay, partner.